And we are live now on YouTube, so I'd like to welcome everyone to our Town Council meeting for August 23rd, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Move right on item 2. That's the approval of tonight's agenda. And the recommendation there is that the agenda for the council meeting of August 23rd, 2021 be approved as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor McConnell. Any discussion on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Any declarations from members of council this evening? Seeing none. 4, we move on to presentations, and we do have a presentation tonight. I see Greg Kenny is joining us from Irving H. Miller. Greg, thanks a lot for stopping in tonight, and you're going to talk about the wild and wonderful world of our insurance renewal. So I'll turn it over to you and keep us awake, but please let us know what's happening with our insurance right now.
Sure. Matthew, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yep,
Are you able to get the PowerPoint up for us?
I am.
Okay. So yeah, basically, Matthew asked me to come to the meeting tonight to talk to the increase on the renewal specifically. So first slide would just be page rather would just be the introduction of Intact Public Entities, which was formerly Frank Cowan. Nothing really has changed much other than they bought it, and it still operates as an independent operation. We switch to the next one. It talks about what's driving claims. So here we're talking first of all about climate change. So that's the severity of tornadoes, windstorms, rain, water, all of that has a direct impact on claims. Class action suits, we're seeing increases in those, and we're seeing increases in the awards for such suits. Legal landscape, referring to just everybody's becoming more litigious, have been for a while, and it's getting worse as time progresses. Future cost of care. I think what they're trying to get at here is, well, if you think about insurance as being the pot, so everything's going into the pot and claims have to come out of that pot. What actuaries are finding and predicting is that there's not going to be enough in the pot. With everything that's happening, they're just saying it's not going to be enough. We have to do something now to make sure that that pot's going to be full when we need it. Talking to joint and several liability, everybody knows what that is and where we're at with that. Cyber liability, that's a different animal, which we did get into a bit, and we have to cover that off with a new carrier. I think, did anybody get a handout or get a chance to look at a handout that I asked Matt to distribute? It was entitled Escalating Costs of Municipal Claims.
Yes.
Yeah. If you haven't got it yet and you really want to spend about an hour or so reading this handout, it gets into these things in much more depth. I mean, I could do that now, but I think it's best that you take the time, go through that handout. If you've got individual questions, please feel free to call me. Please feel free to send me an email, and I'll speak to you individually on your concerns around all of these headings. If we flip the page or move on to the next slide, it talks to hard markets. In my career, I started in the 80s. I've seen 3 hard markets. Typically for me, they've only lasted about 2 years, but the last hard market was a good one. It was about an 8-year span, and there was no precedent for that. What it means to us as marketers or brokers is that it's hard to place business. So all the markets or companies basically put up hurdles. They're having trouble with their reinsurance treaties. They are hard to get along with, for lack of a better description. So we are into a hard market right now, especially around municipal insurance. We're finding that typical replies are not there. In other words, when we're RFPing, people aren't getting back to us with rates. I think that if we looked at this year's renewal, it's up slightly over 14%. And I know that that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. However, the industry average for a very well-run and a municipality with a great loss ratio is about 17.5% right now. That's the average increase we're seeing for that type of municipality. You guys are there, like with all the direction, the proper direction from council to staff that are doing a fantastic job. You guys are seeing below that average. You're seeing something for an excellent township at 14.1. Typically, a normal township's going to be, well, here on this slide here, 15 to 20 is the good. Yeah, we're seeing that it's around 30 to 40 for most municipalities. So I know it sounds awful, but it really is something that that's quite below the average for a township in your shape. But it's basically due to what's been done out there with staff and council in terms of documentation, in terms of taking the risk management surveys that we've done, wrapping up things that need to be wrapped up. All those sorts of things have had a very good impact on your loss ratio. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot unless you folks have some questions for me directly relating to the increase.
Thanks, Greg. Matt, did you want to introduce anything now, or are you just going to save that to your report later on under, was it 1210?
Oh, certainly I can introduce that now. So really, we see it as a 14% increase. In the budget, we had assumed 5%. Obviously, we're disappointed that we're still in kind of that high market rate year over year. However, we have been reaching out to our neighboring municipalities, and Greg is absolutely correct that, and they're seeing anywhere from 15 through 40% increases. I think we did review a couple of options, which we'll get to a little bit later in terms of adding to the overall policy and that sort of thing. So this equates to about a $32,000 increase, and of that, we would have to cover $11,000 out of this year's budget. That being said, I already have 5% that's been accounted for, so really we're talking about $7,000 or $8,000 that we'd have to make up for. We're confident where we've found savings in other areas that we'll be able to absorb that as part of this. When Greg was mentioning about it being a hard market, and that means that going out to market right now, we're not going to see a lot of competition, and that's when you don't want to go out. We do have a great claims history, and that's something that's just been a historical positive for us. And so as soon as this market, I think, starts to open up, then certainly we'll take that opportunity to go out to the market and see what options are out there. But there's been a number of insurance companies. Obviously, Intact is one of the large players in the market. Marsh is another, and our understanding is it's across the board. So it's not particular to one company, but it's more the market overall that is going up. So certainly this is something that we need to consider. It will have a larger impact on the 2022 budget, and certainly we'll make the allowances for that as we go into there. But we don't see that there's much of an option of being able to go out to market to implement immediate savings. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. As Greg mentioned, we're well under our peers when it comes to increases, and so that's what we'll continue to aim for, and then we'll be able to move forward. We did highlight a couple of areas when Greg was talking about the more litigious nature, as well as the larger size of damages that are being awarded. And so when you take a look at my further report, it's actually making a recommendation to move from $20 million liability to $25 million liability limit. The other two items that we found when we were going through the review is that we don't have flood insurance on our buildings. And so That's obviously a relative concern when we take a look at the water treatment plant. And then the final one is earthquake. When it comes to earthquake, it's a hit or a miss. We know that there's increased activity around us, or particularly in Cornwall. They've seen it in Ottawa, that sort of thing. So both of those options are fairly low cost options on a yearly basis, and which is what led me to make that recommendation. So wanted to make sure that we came in, had a discussion about the yearly increase. What are the possibilities of us taking a different approach, which really right now I don't see that there is a lot of opportunity, but continuing to focus on our risk management practices to make sure that we don't have a large claims that we would end up having to be negative on our claims record.
Thanks very much, Mr. Armstrong. And yeah, it's an odd day when you have to say a 14% increase is actually good news in anything, but it really is. We have heard from I've heard it from other heads of council, and it's fairly well known. I think we've discussed it at this table before that we're seeing the increases are in that 30, 40, 50% range in some areas the last year, 2 years, but we're into uncharted territory as well. That's the only caution I would have. And the hard markets, they generally do pass fairly quickly, but we're into a whole new ball game in a lot of ways with the pandemic. So we'll have to see how this evolves, but it's obviously we're in a good position to weather this, as is witnessed by that 14% number. So Matt everything is coming back for Matt's full report is under 12.10. So any other questions on this and our specific policies and what's recommended, we could probably hold till then, but anyone have anything they'd like to ask Greg now or comment on just anything we've discussed here in the presentation? Councillor Jansman, please, and then Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Greg, at one time through, I believe, AMO, there was a movement to correct the wrong of the joint liability activity that often is at the expense of municipalities. Is there any update to that?
No, there is no update. It's still being looked at. There's nothing to add. It talks a bit to where it's at in that report, but really it's still in limbo.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was really deemed to be a constitutional issue, and that's how the last Liberal government backed off it. And I don't think there's been a lot of movement on that whole thing, the joint and several sense. Councillor McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Excuse me, we've recently entered into a transit system with our joint transit system with our neighbors in the city of Brockville. And I notice in particular in the thing Greg was referencing that was sent out separately, transit claims are increasing. We haven't had a transit system before, so there's been no need for us to have transit insurance. Has this been broached? Does this new or the newer thing policy, is it going to have a transit system insurance included in it?
I think Matthew and I spoke to that a bit about the underlying limit changing from 20 to 25 million. For me, it was a no-brainer. It was an expense of about $1,600 for the extra 5 mil. And I think that's part of what we were discussing, Matthew, but I'm not sure who is actually insuring the buses and the operation themselves. I haven't been privy to that information.
I can certainly speak to that through you, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
So really, the city of Brockville is the operator, carries the insurance, and they already leave the city of Brockville, so they already have that rider contained within. And then we are naming each other on the insurance. So they're carrying the transit portion of it because it's already part and parcel of their plan. And certainly, so it wasn't something that we had to go out as a separate item.
Thank you very much. Follow-up, Councillor McConnell, or?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what Teresa was referring to is that 1% liability, that if a town is 1% liable, essentially, if nobody else can pay, it's 100% liable. If, God forbid, something happens to a bus not in the town of Prescott as part of this transit system, we're going to be liable, are we not? Now, given the fact that it is run by municipalities, nobody is going to be left in the lurch. Everybody's going to carry their own share, but we are still going to be liable, are we not? Despite the fact that the city of Brockville has insurance.
My reading of it is that it would be the city of Brockville's insurance that would respond first, regardless of where it happens, because they are the operator and have care and control.
Okay. One other question, if I may.
Please.
I had a complaint from one of my neighbors about a car zipping through the intersection of James and West. And as a frequent walker, and Mayor Todd, I know you walk around, and Mike, you walk around, I'm sure we've all seen cars zipping through intersections, in particular on the east-west streets. There is an example referenced here of two-car collision at an intersection, and the city was liable due to the absence of a stop line at the intersection. Now, we have been doing some painting on our back streets over the last few years, but there's a number of streets, probably more don't than do, that don't have stop lines at the intersections. How far are we from having stop lines at all intersections, or are we even going there? And I guess this would be more a Matthew question than Greg.
So the intention is, it's something they're working on with operations, and the intention is to have that completed before the snow flies. So certainly we've identified that there's a number of streets that don't have those stop bars, and it's certainly something that we want to address and make sure that there are stop bars. And it's just one more reminder of needing to be able to stop.
So you're indicating that all of our streets will have stop bars before the snow flies? That's your intention?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very
That's
much.
all I have, Mayor Todd. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell. Any other questions, comments tonight for Mr. Kenny? Okay, looks like Greg, you're off the hook. Thanks a lot for that great presentation, and good work again. It's a tough pill to swallow in some ways, but it's good to see we're keeping the numbers down given our good record and how we are handling things here internally. So thanks very much, and everyone else will be back to insurance a little later on this evening under 12.10.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
You too. Bye now.
Thanks, Craig.
And next up, we have 5 delegations. No delegations tonight. So right on to 6, and that's minutes of our previous council meetings. A couple items there. Under 6.1, we have our meeting minutes from July 19th, 2021. And the recommendation is that the council minutes dated July 19th, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Shankar, seconded by Councillor Burton. Any discussion on that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And 6.2, we do have the special council minutes from July 26th, 2021. Recommendation reads again that the special council minutes dated July 26, 2021 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor McConnell. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. 7, communications and petitions, nothing on the agenda tonight. 8, under consent reports, we do have a number of items there. The recommendation reads that all items listed under the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. This is one of the first times we've had quite a few things in here, so just want to make sure Lindsay, I'm doing the format of this correctly. So just put it up there, and if anyone wants to split anything off, just ask for that now before we, as I raise the question. I apologize for that. I'm just not thinking entirely clearly here on this one tonight. Am I correct to bring the motion forward first?
Sorry, Mayor Todd. Yes, yeah. If any member of council wishes to speak to anything, they can just say which one they'd like to speak to, and we can move it down to reports. You're correct.
Okay, thank you. So I'll ask that question first. If anyone has anything they would like to separate from the package of items under the consent reports agenda this evening. Even better, nobody does. So the recommendation is that all items listed under the consent reports section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Shankar, seconded by Councilor Ostrander. All those in favor? Motion is carried. 9 committee reports, nothing tonight. 10 mayor this evening, nothing from me. 11 outside boards, committees, and commissions. Go around the table as usual and start with Councilor Burton, please.
Thank you. Nothing from me either.
Thank you so much, Councilor Burton. Councilor Jasmine, please.
There hasn't been a planning committee recently in the last couple of weeks. There has been a BIA meeting, and that you will get the minutes of shortly in the next couple of weeks. But the BIA has been very, very active. I encourage everyone to go to the market on Saturday and now Wednesday evening. So that's very exciting. And they're already talking about events coming up in the fall and at Christmas, of course. So stay tuned, lots of things, and that's the BIA. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councilor Jan. Yeah, great entertainment down there at the BIA as well. The Wednesday evenings and every Saturday too by the clock tower. So stop down. I encourage everyone out there to stop down and see what we have to offer. Councilor McConnell, please.
Well, thank you, Mayor Todd. Not very much for me this evening because I'm not in Prescott, but as I understand it, the washrooms are still open at Walker House, but the building is closed for other purposes. The library is open to visitation. You can actually go in and pick up a book now. The curling club, and I apologize for this because I've been without Wi-Fi here for a while. I'm relying on the generosity of my neighbors here now, so I'm not positive whether this is taking place or it is about to take place, but the curling club is having outdoor curling at the farmers market. And has that taken place? Are you aware of?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a wonderful thing. It was artificial ice, something like what they had in Brockville, as I understand it, for outdoor skating at the old Memorial Center, and that must have been an excellent activity. And I wish I had been in town to see it. The Shakespeare production, which was brought in for the week, apparently was very well received. The ticket sales, the last I heard, were close to what they were looking for, and that was a week ago, so I'm sure they must have went over. The weather cooperated apparently, and a good time was had. I apologize to Shakespeare for not being able to help out with that, which is why I volunteered to paint the amphitheater before I went in July. So that was my contribution. And that's it for me, Mayor Todd. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Lee. And actually the curling, the little ice pad was really well received down there last week. Teresa and I played. I won't say who won, but it wasn't me. And there was a good lineup down there. A lot of people were checking it out. So really excellent. Really great to see that out there. I think the crowds have really been, people are getting used to the fact we've got the market back and more are coming down, and amenities like that. That was just really neat to have it down there.
Well, given the fact, if I may, given the fact that we were not able to curl last year due to COVID, and also given the fact that we don't know exactly what's going to happen this fall, what the conditions are going to be to curl inside yet. It's always good to have some promotional things to keep curling in the public eye. And this is just a wonderful thing that got circulated around. So it's really great. And I congratulations to the board of the Curling Club for bringing that in.
Yes, much appreciated. It was a real hit. Councilor Ostrander, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just while you're on the farmers market, just a reminder, there's a Wednesday night session this week they're having. as well as their Saturdays. So just put it out there for everybody. The crowds are getting used to it, as you mentioned, and they're a little more, little more of them, I guess you could say. They're having a troubadour in the clock tower there. The last, I've seen 2 at least. Apparently there's been 3 total since it started up. So that's going well. So here's hoping. I also attended the Saltwater Moon last night, in fact, and it's a great show, and it's nice to see everybody supporting it. And even though we had to do the COVID spacing and everything, it still went quite well. Spoke to Richard briefly last night. He was very pleased that the overall atmosphere and picture really went well for them. So that's it for me.
Thanks very much, Mike. Councilor Shankar, please.
I don't have a lot more news other than what's been already said, so I'm going to keep this meeting moving along. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Corey. And last and never least, Councilor Raymond Young.
Oh, thank you, Brett. Nothing to report, but I did enjoy being outdoor at the amphitheater on Saturday night.
Good stuff. Yeah, it was great to see the amphitheater utilized again. And speaking of amphitheater and downtown entertainment and fun, we'll move along to the staff reports. And we've got a great one coming up under 12.1 on Staff Report 72-2021. That's our Labor Day event schedule, which is looking pretty heavily filled out. We've got Samantha Jodo Miller here to give that report. Sam, please.
Thank you. So this is just to keep everybody updated as to what is going on Labor Day weekend. In the report, you'll see Saturday is a full day. We're planning for a good eventful day on the 4th. Starting with the 2020 Community Awards celebration, it's going to be hosted at the amphitheater and it will begin at 10 a.m. The Farmers and Crafters Market will run as scheduled from 9 till 2. The Prescott pool, the Y, is still scheduled to be open at the pool for the entire weekend. So they do have public swimming and lane swim options available. Those hours are adjusted for the weekend as we move into September. So lane swim will be from 10 until 12, and then public swimming from 12:15 until 5. We still need to pre-register for the pool. So I will just put that out there. And then finally, to end the night, we are going to be having a fireworks display by Hands Fireworks, and they are set to begin at 9:30. Those are the regular location across from Fort Wellington. On Sunday, we've got the pool open again for lane swim and public swimming, pre-registration required. And then on Monday, it's very exciting. We were approached by the Upper Canada Musicians Association, and they are going to be having performances out of the amphitheater all day on Sunday. So the schedule currently is from 11 until 8 p.m., from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. With all different performances happening that day. So that's very exciting. And again, we've got the pool open as well, pre-registration required for those public swim times. We are still working on some additional complimentary activities to happen on Saturday the 4th, but this is everything that's been confirmed so far.
Thanks so much, Sam, for that great update. It's a busy weekend. I just want another quick shout out to the Upper Canada Musicians Association. My old buddy Al Torrance actually approached me a couple of weeks ago about possibly putting a show on. So I think they've got some. I shouldn't say. I'm not sure what the funding is for this, but it is basically it's a pretty much a freebie show for us here at the amphitheater, and just great that we were able to host that. And he couldn't have said more complimentary things about our staff and how much we were able to accommodate this. And I think people will be really thrilled with it. It's the first time we've had live music down there in quite some time, unfortunately, after another summer without the Sunday night concert. So full day of music, and then of course we've got the Upper Canada Folk Fest coming up later in September as well. So great to see some excellent activity down there at the amphitheater. Any comments, questions on that schedule of events from members of council tonight? Seeing none, and that was just presented for information. So Samantha, thanks so much for that report. And moving right along, we are at 12.2. That's staff report 73-2021, that toll road fundraiser for the Alzheimer's Society of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville. Recommendation reads that council approve the request from the Alzheimer's Society of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville to host a toll road fundraiser on September 25th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on King Street. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Burton, seconded by Councilor Jansman. Samantha, you have that report again, I believe. So do you want to take us through some of the particulars there?
Absolutely. We also have Bobby Joe White on the phone with, or on the video here with us as well, from the Alzheimer's Society of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville. We've been approached by the society to run a toll road fundraiser. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's similar to a boot drive in which the society would set up on the road and would be stopping vehicles at a specific location in town and asking for any spare change that drivers are willing to donate. This is the Alzheimer's Society is a registered charitable organization. All money raised remains within the community to support those living with a diagnosis of dementia. They have ran this type of fundraiser in the past. Last year, they ran it in Gananoque in September, in the same time frame from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m., and they raised approximately $4,600. They were situated on King Street. They also had support from the police to be able to slow traffic as people were coming up to the signage and the event itself. So they do put out signage that says there's a special event, letting people know what's going on as they are approaching the vehicles. The society believes that it was very well received. It was they did raise a great deal of money for the community, and so we've been approached to do something similar within Prescott. We're doing it in September because it is World Alzheimer's Month. So we would like to be able to do that. They would like to be able to have this kind of event within that month to recognize what's happening. And the location that we're looking at is on King Street in front of the medical building area. So I will, if Bobby Joe wants to add anything to what was just said, I think we can, I think that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby Joe, thanks for joining us tonight. I apologize. I did see you log into the meeting and I was trying to think, I saw Lanark, Leeds, Grenville, and I was trying to figure out what you were here for, but that makes perfect sense. So please welcome. And if you have any comments, please, now's the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, thank you, Samantha. Just to reiterate that the money does stay local to help families in our communities living with a diagnosis of dementia. And it's also, like, yes, we do need to raise money for the local programs and services, but it's also a really good awareness event for us. And it did go over really well in Gananoque, and we will be setting up in Perth as well this year.
Excellent. Yeah, I know we've done what we can. We've been flying the flag in recent years as well, and doing what we can to promote awareness. So it sounds like a fantastic endeavor for us to help you wage that good fight and raise awareness and raise some funds. Any comments, questions from members of staff? Members of council for staff. Councilor Jansman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Thank you very much, Bobby Joe, for approaching the town and with this initiative. I love that you said it was just as much about awareness as it is about fundraising. So, and thank you, Samantha, for bringing that into a staff report. And I 100% think it's a fun idea, and it will be well received, I suspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Jansman. Any other comments, questions from members of council this evening? Seeing none, I will call the question then. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And thanks again, Bobby Joe, for all you do for such a worthy cause here. And any way we can help, please approach us anytime in the future. And I'm sure you'll receive the same support. So thanks very much, and take care and have a great night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
And on to 12.3, that is staff report 74-2021 Fire Dispatch Service Agreement. Recommendation is that council direct staff to extend the current fire dispatch agreement expiring on December 31st, 2021 for an additional term of 2 years. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Young, seconded by Councilor Ostrander. And with that, I'll turn it over to our chief, Rennie, Chief Rayner. You're going to take us through that report, I believe, this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the current agreement expires December 31st, 2021. And the city of Brockville passed a motion to negotiate with the town of Prescott to extend the agreement 2 more years. As you can see in the report, it's a reasonable 2% increase for each year. So in year 1, it works out to $415 increase. And then in the second year, a $423 increase for a total of $838. The reason for the state of the agreement being 2 years is the system, the old 911 system is end of life, and not in Brockville, but the whole 911 system. So the system's being migrated to what's called next generation 911, which obviously is more technology. There's going to be obviously video, text to 911, so someone can actually take footage on their cell phone and actually send it to dispatch. So first responders, whether it would be police, EMS, or fire, would be able to actually see an incident. So this is the support time between that and this current agreement. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, Your Worship.
Thanks very much, Chief. I'll open it up. Any questions? And actually, just one quick one. How long have we had this? It's a pretty long-standing relationship now with Brockville, is it not?
Yes, back in 2016. So yes, and just because I used to be in Brockville, I know the systems ran very well. Excellent support through Bell, who is the support people. 24/7 service, and even at Chiefs meetings, I've never heard any negative comments about the service that Brockville provides.
Yeah, always good to know, and it always seemed like an excellent partnership there with them. So open it up for comments and questions from members of council, please. Seeing no comments, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And under 12.4, we do have staff report 75-2021. That's the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville Regional Fire Services Review. This is just presented tonight for information, but just 1 second to. So, Chief, did you want to just take us through some of your background and analysis here? We've discussed this briefly, I think, but it would actually, I think, go back even, I think, before you joined us too, when this first was presented at the United Counties. So please, if you want to take us through your report, then we'll open it up for comments and questions. I believe this is sort of making the rounds with the United Counties municipalities, or I think it has been for a number of months now, but please go ahead and just take us through your report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as you can see, in March 10th, 2021, the county released the report. It was actually through a consultant. And as far as I know, and I can't say for sure, but some of my colleagues I know have presented, and there hasn't been a lot of support in the area. My staff recommendation would be that we maintain our current service delivery model. And in the report, I talk about the establishing and regulating bylaws. So the fire service is a council responsibility under the Municipal Act. So the counties don't have authority under that. So obviously that would have to change. We have fire service agreements with the Township of Augusta, as well as Edwardsburg Cardinal. And since I've been here with our staff, we've gone into Augusta, we've gone into Edwardsburg Cardinal, worked great together with our colleagues. So that relationship has been obviously for a long time. The mutual aid plan also sets out responses. So if someone needs assistance, whether it's specialized equipment or staff from an area fire department, mutual aid plan is all fire departments within Leeds and Grenville. And there's a call list based on, we call it running assignments or the type of situation they're in. So we actually have a way to actually get our specialized equipment to another municipality or to share staff. And again, when they talk about savings in equipment, mutual aid meetings that are held quarterly, there's always reputable salespeople there to be able to provide competitive pricing and salespeople that we know deal with brand equipment that we all use. We have a tiered response agreement in place with EMS, so we're able to support our residents when EMS is unable to get there as quickly because they're committed to other calls. And our fire prevention program, we do request and complaint, but we also do our vulnerable occupancies or retirement homes and our public education. Before COVID, we were out in the community, and now it's through social media. And something that I'm not sure the council would be aware of, or any of the councils maybe at this point in time, but a Chief Fire Officers Association of Leeds and Grenville was recently formed. So that all the chiefs, and basically what we've done is decided that we need to have one voice, have a brand, and I think this is maybe part of the recommendations from the report that maybe jump-started us to collaborate together as chiefs and to be able to work together. And again, I talk about culture of the fire service. I know in all my years of service, going out to different departments, how proud everyone is, whether it's in Athens or Rideau Lakes. People are proud to be members and help in their own community. And I think that's something that is just, it's an intangible, it's hard to measure, but it's so part of the lifeblood of a community. So really, again, as the alternative in the report, council could most certainly entertain any of the recommendations from that study. But I would be more than happy, Your Worship, to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Chief. I will open it up for comments and questions from members of council this evening. Councillor Jansman, please.
I just wanted to thank our fire chief for his report, but for his comments as well, and how we currently provide this service to our community it's not at all broken. It's runs very well for a lot of different reasons, and I would see no reason to entertain any change to that. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jansman. Other comments, questions for the chief tonight? Not seeing anything, so I just want to thank Chief Rayner for bringing this forward. I think it's good to put it to bed this way as well, with a formal report back. I mean, when this was first presented to counties, I pretty much said not a chance. As soon as the presenter was able to open it up for comments, and I was disappointed that the study actually came to this conclusion, because we've been told all along that it actually wasn't going to go this far. We were going to look at the common sense things like the Chiefs Association, which is a great addition, buying, purchasing power, things like that, because we already have some great fire companies here in Leeds Grenville, led, I think, by our own fire department here in Prescott, and absolutely no point changing that. We've got the right people, we've got the right building now, we've got just an incredible group there, and great relationships already. So not something I would ever want to entertain changing, especially in such a dramatic fashion. So that's good. I think this gives us a nice answer back to that if the counties actually come, and if there is anyone actually looking at implementing this, because I know there's a few differing opinions in a few areas there politically in some of the municipalities, but I think, as the chief mentioned, the majority don't want to really go anywhere near this, and with good reason. And that's the good news story in the end, because we've got some great fire departments. And anyhow, anyone else have any further comments? So we'll close this off this evening. Okay, we're good. Thanks again, Chief, for that report. And thanks also for the work on that Chiefs Association. I've heard some good things there already, and that's just the more we talk with our neighbors and the more we work together, the better too. So good stuff all around. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council.
So now we're on to 12.5. That's staff report 76-2021 winter maintenance operations survey results. Our recommendation is that council direct staff to report back to council in October with suggested modifications to the policy regarding plowing of sidewalks and walkways and the removal of snowbanks between the sidewalk and the road. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Ostrander. I think, Mr. Richard, you're up with this, and take us through the results of the survey and what we're possibly looking at that'll come back in October.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Todd. Yeah, so this is something that nobody really wants to discuss in the summer months, but it's probably the best time to go through some of the details of snow removal. So we did do a survey in March, April, and to get some feedback from the public as far as how what they think of the snow plowing and the snow removal within the town. So we did have 131 participants, which is a pretty good turnout overall. 93% of the respondents were residents of the town, and the rest were business owners and some members of council and some visitors. Overall, people are pretty satisfied with the timing of the snow plowing operations. That was 83%. 67% satisfied with the salting and plowing of the sidewalks. So that's a little lower than I think we'd want to see. And the roads were 81% satisfied or very satisfied with the plowing of the local roads. 54% were satisfied or very satisfied with the removal of the snow banks between the road, the sidewalk and the road. So again, that's lower than we'd like to see. So those are some areas for improvement. 69% thought that the current levels of winter maintenance were appropriate. And again, 70%, 73% overall satisfied. The next batch of numbers gets into when residents would call the town. So only 85% of the respondents had never contacted the town of the people who were in the survey. So you don't get a lot of calls from the people, for different things on snow removal, but you do get a few, and some of those contacted the town through email, telephone, or in person. Some through social media. 33% said that it's because the sidewalks weren't accessible. So again, it kind of correlates back to the other numbers that we went through. 77% of the town's communication regarding the winter maintenance was excellent, good, or fair. 12% rated it as poor. And then 25% of the respondents sorry, what's that?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. The 25% of the response would like to see improvement in the frequency of the plowing of the sidewalks. And then kind of as we move on, it kind of went on to ask, if people were willing to pay extra for increased service, level of service, and 32% were willing to support some sort of an increase in winter maintenance services. Through the property taxes, 34% were unwilling, and then 34% were sort of undecided. And so 76% of the respondents were overall satisfied with the snow operations that the town provides. And so based on this feedback, we did see that there's two areas that could use improvement, and one is the removal of the snowbanks between the sidewalk and the road, while the second is the salting and the plowing of the sidewalks. So they are kind of related, and so these are things that we want to come up with some ideas on how to push that forward to make it a little better in the upcoming season. And we'd look to get some input from council as well on those items, and we'll see if we can make it a little bit better in the coming snow season. That's it.
Thanks very much, Nathan. I'll open it up for comments, questions. I'll just note though some of the key numbers, that 76% of respondents satisfied or very satisfied. That's a good number. That's a really good number. And I'll also note the sample size, because people do complain it's a small number and whatever. 131 people is a reasonably good sample size for a town of 4,400 roughly people. That's a legitimate number. It's always great to have more, but I think this does kind of capture sort of the spirit of things in town. And sidewalks and banks are always what we hear about, so no real shock there either. And that's one of the concerns. But open it up for comments, questions for members of council tonight. Councilor Burton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I think it just goes to show how dedicated and committed our town staff in the operation department is. You know, with the numbers, the numbers say it all. So definitely great job to our town staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Burton, and absolutely, I think we'd all certainly agree with that. Councilors Young and then Councilor McConnell, please.
Good job, Nathan. I hope that we do the same survey at the same time next year, and then we will have 2 years of numbers to compare whether we're going up or down in service.
Thanks very much, Councilor Young. Councilor McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. There was 2 statistics that I thought were notable. The first one being 33% of the respondents thought that these sidewalks were not accessible. I'd have to think that that was immediately after or during a snowfall, because I know when I've been out walking, I mean, we don't have 50 sidewalk plows, so there are times either during or immediately after a snowfall where a sidewalk may not be accessible, but it is for a short period of time, relatively speaking. And the other statistic that I found notable was, I believe 12% of people found our snow clearing operations terrible. I can't for the life of me think of where those 12% lived before they came to Prescott, because I find that just unbelievable. I don't know what people expect, but obviously they're expecting far more than we're capable of delivering. But my compliments to our snow plowing crew in the winter, both sidewalks and roads, is I think they do the best job that they can with the equipment that we provide them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. Well said. Councilor Shankar, please.
Thank you. We do during the winter. We always talk about our snow plowing, and it's fantastic. Within a couple of days, King Street is removed of snowbanks. I think Nathan, you're going to have a hard time removing snowbanks between the sidewalk and the road through the whole town. I know we only do it in like certain areas. Maybe intersections might be something we can look at, just because of traffic and visibility. But another interesting stat is like only 1 in 3 taxpayers want to see an increase in their taxes from this, right? So most people want the service, but they don't want to pay for it. So if we can figure out how to provide better service, although like the mayor said, we're at 76% right now, which is it's a B- in my book, or it's an A-. It's a good score. I think we're doing a great job, and maybe a little more salt on the sidewalks, and we'll be fine. But I think we're on the right track, and we've got a great crew. And Nathan, I like this report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gory. Also very well said. Other comments from members of council this evening? Okay, I think that's all we have on that. Then I just want to thank staff for doing this. I think it's always good to just keep in touch with the people on that, and it's always the same though. I mean, going back to when I was first on council way back when, in 06, 07, that was the comment back then: more sidewalks, and the banks. And we've we've improved our operations, I think, every year since then, and we've gotten to a point where it's a pure standard of excellence. And but you can always do that a little bit better, and I really applaud staff for looking at this again, and I know they'll bring back some good suggested modifications. We've talked a little bit about this behind the scenes, and I think they've got some fantastic ideas that will target some of the key areas here and improve the operations there when we hard to even imagine snow right now, actually, with the temperature outside, but we all know it's coming. So we'll hear back right around Halloween on this, and we'll be ready to go for the new season with these improvements. So thanks again, Nathan, to you and the entire team for this report and all you guys do out there in the front lines.
Thank you very much.
So we're on to 12.6, that's staff report 77, 2021. And that's a real high number of staff reports only being into August. That's, I think we may actually hit a record there by the end of the year. So the hard work's being noticed, folks. That's a lot of reports back. So anyway, 77 is project updates. This is just for information. Mr. Armstrong, did you want to touch on anything here with regards to your report?
Certainly. So just a couple of ones that I wanted to touch on. First one is that I'm very happy to say that we'll be starting our transit pilot next Monday. And so we're just firming up the promotional side of it. And so you'll probably receive something tomorrow if you're available on Friday, that we will be doing a bit of a promotional time. We're just, again, trying to firm those up. Non-motorized dock, I think we sent that out last week on Facebook and on social media, and I believe we received 300 likes. So very positive, and that is a really nice addition. One of the things that we're able to do with that is obviously it's floating, so we'll be able to pull it out in the winter, put it back in the spring. It does have a solar light on it, so people are able to identify it and see it at night. Double Street East Reconstruction, they're moving along, and today they did do the first lift between Van Conant, or I'm going to murder that one, and Duke Street. So that now has curbing and as well as sidewalks, as well as its first lift, and they're moving right along between Russell and Boundary. So that's coming along quite nicely as well. And certainly in September, I think they'll have that finished up and then be moving on to working on the arena site. So, and then active transportation pilots. So the shade sails have been ordered. The bicycle repair stations have been ordered. We're just waiting on Parks Canada for the solar lighting approval, but we did find a great vendor, and it's using the same product that is on the Brock Trail. So it's motion activated, all the things that we want to identify there, and things are moving along. So we're happy from that perspective as well. And just wanted to give a couple of updates of where we are with some of those large projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Any comments, questions? Councillor Young, please.
Just one, Brett. The charging stations, where are we with that one?
I can take that one, Mayor Todd. Councillor Young, we do have approval from National Research Council of Canada to start moving forward on that. And we're going to put a request for a quote out to the electrical contractors that we have in our roster. And we'll get some bids on those probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I would think. And then hopefully have them installed before the snow flies.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Nathan, can you remind us what the locations are? I know 4, was it 4 being held back for the rink, but then we're Town Hall, downtown? Could you just, so I've actually had a lot of questions about that the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, you certainly do see electric vehicle information and interest growing as time moves on. So we do have a couple. I think there's a couple of Town Hall. There's 4. Yeah, 4 were slated for the arena that will hold back. There was a 2 at the, and typically they will go in pairs. It would be set on a pedestal, so you'd put them in a pair. Down at Centennial Park, at the parking lot there. 2 at the marina, 2 at the Shoppers parking lot, and then so that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. So that's basically all of them. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Sorry to put you on the spot with that. I just thought that since it came up, I've actually had a lot of questions about that lately. I think it's got something to do with the price of gas going up again and more people converting to electric vehicles. It's incredible the number of EVs you see right now, especially the Teslas. They're all over the area. I think it's something to do with them selling them in Ottawa directly now. So Any other comments, questions on the project updates? Councilor McConnell, please.
I didn't have a question until you mentioned the Teslas. It seemed to me Nathan mentioned that the Teslas have a different charger than the one that we're using. Am I right there?
Yeah, different attachments in that different supercharger system. Although they're going to allow other EV drivers to charge at the Tesla systems later on. Nathan, did you have any?
Yeah, and I think they do have an adapter that can plug into the regular, the more common type electric vehicle chargers as well.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is that something? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think there's 3 different types that are still commonly used, and there's adapters for each with the different chargers. And we actually do have there are Tesla superchargers in town at a business as well. So it's we're going to be pretty well situated with EV charging. I just want to say, I just wanted to compliment the contractors and everyone on that work down on Dibble Street. I walked it there the other day, and is it ever coming along beautifully? The curbing and everything, even before the full paving and everything really gets going. It's an impressive job, and it's really cleaned up. You really notice now just how rough that asphalt had gotten and how much it had sunk, because it looks just fantastic right now. So it's going to be nice to be able to walk and drive down there in the weeks to come when it's all finished. But coming along very quickly. It looks fantastic. Any further comment? Councilor Jansman, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate all of the people around that planning table for the new bus transit system, because that was no doubt a lot of planning, a lot of work, and I'm very glad that Prescott was so involved. Lots of compliments in the docking, so I'm glad that was mentioned too, Matthew. But the additional chairs, so I've been getting a lot of comments, hearing a lot of really good, fun, positive feedback. And it's so nice to hear positive feedback. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And I was down on Saturday night too, right, at the St. Lawrence Shakespeare play. And I heard people talking about how beautiful our flowers are this year. And so kudos to all the staff having anything to do with that as well. Those pots by the Shoppers, in between Shoppers and Riverwalk, they're just amazing. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councilor James. Yeah, impeccably maintained too. You see the watering all the time. It's incredible how beautiful all that looks. And so many compliments. Oh, I should actually say something about the Muskoka chairs as well, because I've kind of been hogging them down at the beach for the better part of the last week. And a lot of people have been enjoying them, and also that new dock. The positivity we're getting right about all the waterfront additions this year. Can't say enough for that dock. It's absolutely perfect down there. Perfect spot, perfect everything, and people just love it. So hats off to staff for those additions. And just the downtown and the waterfront's never looked as good as it does right now, I think. Never. So thanks so much. And on to slightly more nuanced subject. 12.7 staff report 78-2021 garbage bag update and options. Recommendation reads that council directs staff to undertake a public survey to obtain feedback on the various options that could be used to collect waste fees and report back to council in October for further review and consideration. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Burton. I believe that's both Mr. Richard and Mr. Armstrong. Nathan, you going to start with that?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Todd. Yeah. Matthew said he really enjoys talking through all of the reports, but he'd like me to talk about a few of them as well. So, so yeah, we've had in the wintertime we had some feedback of some of the bags that were tearing and ripping, and some of that I was kind of attributing to the cold temperatures and the elasticity not being there for the bags, and if they're a little bit heavy or damp, that would break them open. But we're kind of having it throughout all times of the year. So that we kind of we want to circle back and say, is this the right way to be doing what we're doing with waste? We did talk with the supplier, and they assured us that the new batch would be different, but I think we're kind of seeing similar quality things and issues. So we did have a social media campaign that reached about 6,000 people. They were shared several, dozen times and had almost 900 engagements. So between the campaigns that we did do, about 10 residents did take advantage of, to call us or email us and let us know that they had some issues with their bags, and that around, less than 10 took advantage of trading the bags out if they had bags that weren't working for them or were tearing. So roughly, we would purchase about a year's worth of inventory at one time, just to get the price down per bag. So we do have about a half a year of inventory right now. So it's a good time to, we thought it would be a good time to look at what our options are. Do we look maybe at a different system, maybe bag tag stickers, or do we continue with bags that, like we're doing now, but with maybe look at the other vendors that have proven track records. So yeah, again, the current stock's going to last till about the end of this year. So we want to, move on this, I guess, as quickly as we can. So Matthew has a good contact with other CIOs throughout Eastern Ontario, and he's going to reach out to them and see what kind of, see what they do in their municipalities, and if they have any issues with their suppliers of how they do things, and see what works best and what's not working. And then we want to do a public survey as well to get some feedback from residents to see what their thoughts are on how they think we should move forward. And some of the numbers are here as well as far as the revenue and expenses. So the garbage bags do cost about almost $180,000 per year. And then there's a large item pickup and the recycling grant. Sorry, that's on the revenue side. Sorry. So the total revenue is about $220,000, and then the expenses add up to about $306,000. So again, if there's ways that maybe we can make things better for the public, and then also save a little bit of money, that's probably the best case scenario here. But yeah, so we're looking for, again, feedback from council and feedback from the public to see how we should move forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nathan. I'll open it up for comments, questions. But I'll just add, I hope people are paying attention. I hope the media actually gets this out there, because this has actually been maybe the biggest sore point we've seen on social media for a number of months now. I've told people we are taking it seriously. We're looking at it, and the details here show that we've been very responsive to it, and people want a say in this, and they're going to get a say in this. So hats off to just getting to this point, and I just hope it's recognized out there, and hopefully we'll get some good feedback. But open it up, council, questions, comments. Councilor McConnell, I think you had your hand up a moment ago.
I did, Mayor Todd. Thank you. I noticed a difference in my own garbage bags, the last bunch that we got. I mean, previous to that, it was one long roll and you had to yank them apart. And in particular in the winter, while you were yanking them apart, you sometimes got a split. The rolls that I'm getting now, all bags are separate. You don't have to tear them apart, which is, I think, a good thing. I don't know whether that's an accident and I just happen to get that, or that's the way they're all coming now. But if it is, I think that's a good way forward to eliminate some of these breaking bags. But the other thought that I had was, with the thousands of garbage bags that we put out in the course of a year, if we've only had 10 bags or less than 10 bags exchanged by people because of damage, I tend to think we should just leave it alone. We did have the tag system before, and that was a disaster in my opinion, because the tags didn't stick to the bags in the winter. You found them all over the road. And then, of course, you got the garbage people that, well, do I pick up this bag? It doesn't have a tag on it, or do I leave it? And that causes even more problems. So I think the separation of the bags is a good thing. And I would be tempted to leave things as is. But certainly input is always valued. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. Other comments, questions? Councilor Jansman, please.
Nathan, no doubt you're going to do this, but just perhaps worth mentioning, when you do your investigation, to keep perhaps to see if there's a option out there that's a little bit more environmental friendly, putting plastic in plastic for the sake of putting it into another pot, you know what I mean? So yeah, just if you would keep that in mind, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Jansman. Other comments? Just a quick one, on my own here. I've dealt with so much of this the last, well, it's been a number of years now, whether it's varying quality of the bags, the tears, the splits. I think there's a bit of an argument to be made about the volume of the bags now not being the same as they were, and so on and so forth. There have been a widespread number of complaints, and I do know we've replaced minimal amounts, but from what I hear, it does sound like a lot of people are just ignoring the issues or not following through with it, because it's, I mean, who wants to go to town hall to get a replacement for a single garbage bag or 2 garbage bags? But the number of complaints has been very, very, very much out there. I fielded far too many that for this issue not to be an actual issue. And I honestly think, and I'll say it tonight, because I think the tags may be the way to look at. I think we probably do need to look at it again. Other municipalities do it. We've had complaints about these bags going back to day one here. People that didn't like the paper bags, people that didn't like the plastic bags. Now we're having these quality control issues. And if we can come up with a way where the tag system is, nothing's fraud proof, but if there's a way that we can actually mitigate that, like other municipalities do, because I would guess the majority use some sort of tag system rather than bags, but I can't say that for sure, but that's an AMO question, and we can get that research. But it's just the bags themselves, it just seems to be an awful lot for us to look at, and staff are we're all spending more time than we should on this, and the tags may actually help the problem, because people will then be able to use whatever bags they want. Right now, a lot of people are actually just tying the existing blue bags onto the garbage bags. I've seen that myself, and just being out on garbage days. So there's an issue here, and I really thank staff for looking into this. And I encourage everyone that's complaining on Facebook, wherever else, please respond to the survey, give us your input, let us know what you want to see so we can bring this back. Because right now, I think all options are pretty much on the table. We want a good, effective, and cost-effective system for garbage in the town. And one other thing I'll note, because we're accused all the time of skimping on garbage fees so we can just rake in those big lucrative blue bag bucks. Take a good look at the revenue and the expenses, folks. Happy to share more information if anyone wants to see it. We are not making big money on garbage here. We are not skimping in any way, shape, or form. We're still subsidizing the cost of the bags through the tax base. So we're just trying to make the best system we can. So please respond to the survey. Let us know what you want to see. Any final comments, other comments from members of council this evening? Okay, then I'll go. Oh, Gorey, please.
Sorry, just a quick question. I don't know, maybe you can answer it, but when did we used to have the bag tags? Like, how long ago was that?
90s. I'm guessing. We've had the bags. Ray, do you remember how long? Because we went over. Prescott paper was still in existence when we went to the paper bags, and that's 20 plus years ago now.
Yeah, we had when we started charging, it was with the tag system, so it's probably between 20 and 30 years ago.
And I guess staff will look into that if that's cheaper for us. Like, I would imagine it would be cheaper for us if we're just buying tags, or just producing tags from a local business or something like that, compared to the bags, right?
So it really depends on how far. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just going to refer it to you, because we did discuss that exact question just the other day.
So it really depends on how far you want to go with trying to make them a little bit more foolproof. So where I used to live, it was, you could simply go to Staples, print them on your own home printer, and honestly, you'd be fine, because I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing. So we would do something with a little bit more design, make it so that if it's a glossy type of finish, very hard to print on glossy paper, those types of things. So that's what we would look at, but you're absolutely right. In all likelihood, a tag system would be cheaper from a product standpoint than actually doing bags.
Shipping costs alone would be a huge saving, because you're not dealing with tons and tons and tons of plastic.
Exactly.
Anything further, Councilor Shanker?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll get this moving then. We'll have this come back to us. But again, please, folks, let us know what you want to see here. Don't just post on Facebook message groups. So I'll call the question then. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And 12.8 is staff report 79-2021 transfer payment agreement COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream. Recommendation is that council approve the signing of the transfer payment agreement for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream, local government intake by the mayor and clerk, signed by the mayor and clerk for $100,516 to support active transportation, rehabilitation, and improvements. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Councillor Young. Mr. Armstrong, I think we pretty much know what we're doing here, but just a quick comment for those that may be watching at home.
So we applied for this late last year, early this year. We have been approved. And so really what we were talking about earlier about the active transportation, the solar lighting along the Heritage Trail, the shade structures, the bicycle repairs, that sort of thing is all part of this. And this is just the enacting transfer payment agreement with the federal and provincial governments.
And we did have that little ceremony a few weeks back too with the MP and the MPP as well, focusing on this as well. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. And 12.9, that's staff report 80-2021 Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Green Stream Intake number 2. This was announced a few weeks ago, of course, and the recommendation reads that council directs staff to prepare and submit an application for the replacement of the water tower to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Green Stream. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Jansman, and over to staff. Mr. Armstrong, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So back quite a while ago, we did put in a Green Stream application in intake 1. We weren't successful in that intake. They've since released intake number 2, which we're bringing forward this evening. And with that, they've changed the program a little bit. Now they're covering 73% of eligible costs, which before it was only up to a maximum of, I think, about $2 million. And the other part of the program is that they're really just focused on water and the health for potable water. So with that, we think our water tower fits well in that needs to be replaced. Our aim is for a replacement in 2023. So again, fits well within the timing for this. What we did discover is while we've been going through the joint study with Augusta is that there was a report in the early 2000s that was done by Genevar, which was the town engineers at that time, that the change made at the water treatment plant actually resulted in there not being enough storage capacity of water in the town of Prescott. And so currently our only storage capacity is the water tower. And so it's currently 2,270 cubic meters. We need approximately 3,860 cubic meters. And so that is what we would put the application in for. And that estimate is somewhere between $5 and $6 million for addressing that. There are possibilities of, instead of as we continue to grow and continue to work with our neighbors, if we have to add more capacity, then there are other options that we would be able to do at the water treatment plant or in other places throughout the system. But this is the most economical way to add a large portion to get us to where we need to go now. So we're still working with our engineers and we will continue to do that. The application is due on September 9th. And if we were to get the full $5 million, then it would be 3.66 million. So leaving approximately 2.4 if the total project was 5 million. So still working on those exact numbers, but we do feel that, first of all, our water tower needs to be replaced. There's health and safety risks with that. Now we also know that we don't have enough storage capacity to address our current needs from a water equalization pressure standpoint, as well as fire and emergency. So that helps bolster our case, we believe, from a health and safety standpoint, and certainly something that it doesn't hurt to go after funding. And this seems quite well fitted to what we're trying to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Open it up for comments and questions from members of council, please. Councilor McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. We have miles of water pipes under the streets of Prescott. Was the storage capacity of those pipes taken into account when you looked at the capacity requirements?
So they don't count towards storage capacity because you can't pull the water back from them. So at any given point in time, you've got the system pressurized and equalized, and that's through using the water tower. If there was an emergency situation where you now are fighting a fire and are pulling a lot, or if the water treatment plant wasn't able to supply water for a certain amount of time, that's where that's where the problem would occur. So as you're drawing from the water tower, if there's not enough there, then the whole system loses pressure. And that's where the cause of concern would be. So that's really why we need that additional size, and then being able to support that. And then once we get to that appropriate size, if we're looking to add smaller amounts, then we're able to do that through other means. But the easiest way to add over 1,000 cubic meters is to increase the size of the water tower.
That's a very long way of saying no, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Councilor McConnell. Other comments, questions, please? Seeing none, the only thing I just want to pull out of the report is the partnership with Augusta. Again, we did discuss this. I think the green program, I think it just came out not long before we had our last meeting of that working group that we have with Councilor Shankar, and I are on it with our CAO, and we did discuss it with Augusta that day, and had some good feedback there with possibly joining us here. And as we found with the arena as well, and we know that from all federal and provincial grants, whenever you can team up with a neighboring municipality, it can often lead to good results. So this is actually another great example of the partnership we have going with Augusta, that they'll be working collaboratively with us on this. So here's hoping, and hopefully we'll get some good news on this one going forward. Any further comments before I call the vote? Councilor Young, please.
Brett, we need support from Edwardsburg on this particular one as well, because part of our capacity issue is to provide fire suppression coverage for those industries in Edwardsburg. So it's important that they're on board as well, in my opinion.
I think there's going to be an issue with that, though, because they actually have a water system that they can apply for themselves. Matt, is that?
That's correct. So there's two things that you need in order to sign on as a joint. One is you either can put in your own application or you can put in a joint application, but you can't put in both. So if they have something that's coming forward, and I will have discussion with CAO Grant to determine that, that if they have their own. Augusta doesn't have any water assets, so this fits well for theirs. The second one is that you have to be contributing towards the project financially, and so that's where that could have an issue as well. But certainly we'll discuss it with Edwardsburg Cardinal and see if they are interested.
Yeah, it's funny how that financial bit gets involved in some of the decision-making process. I'd be much happier if they did have their own system and would relieve us of that burden of fire protection down there.
Absolutely. Any further comments from anyone on this before I call the question? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thanks, everyone. And we're ending where we finished off tonight. 12:10 is staff report 81-2021 insurance coverage review recommendation that council directs staff to increase liability coverage from $20 million to $25 million and to add earthquake and flood coverage for buildings in the to the town of Prescott insurance policy. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Young, seconded by Councilor Burton. Matt, anything further you'd want to, I mean, you went over a fair bit of this already, but anything else you'd like to pull out of your report?
So certainly the two most important things, if I was to rank them, from the first is the $25 million liability limit. The second would be the flooding. I think, and it's an all or nothing. So you can't just specify one building as being covered for flood. It has to be all the buildings. So it's a fairly low cost of $7,100 to be able to add that. Our water treatment plant is our most important health and safety asset. And so being able to provide clean and water to our residents is a primary importance. Earthquake, that one obviously is priority number 3. It's for when the day that it actually happens that you would want coverage. And so again, it's a fairly low cost item at $6,341. And when you take a look at what the possible risk would be if something catastrophic was to happen, then certainly it seems like a reasonable amount. So those are the recommendations that we put forward this evening. Really, it would be between $4,000 and $5,000 that we would have to cover out of this year's budget. And then obviously the annual amount will kick in for the full year next year, because this doesn't start until August 29th. But certainly we do have enough in this year's budget through less spending elsewhere to be able to cover it. And we believe we can work with several things that we've identified so far this year from a savings standpoint to be able to incorporate this as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. Open it up for comments and questions. Well, I think we covered a fair bit of this earlier. Councilor Young, please.
Thank you, Brett. In my opinion, the liability coverage increase is an obvious one in today's litigation
Crazy
society. When I was in business on King Street, I always had earthquake insurance on my properties. I was always told that this was a fault line along here somewhere. And you buy insurance to protect you from the ultimate disaster. So I agree with the earthquake as well. And as well, the flood insurance, although I didn't think I would ever get to me on King Street, it certainly would be awful if we did flood our water treatment plant facility. So that too is, to me, is an obvious improvement in our coverage.
Thanks, Ray. Any other comments from members of council? Councilor Shankar, please.
Yeah, I agree with Ray. Like, insurance is one of those things you hate to pay it, but you sure glad you did when something happens. You know, I'm sure there's probably people sitting at home going, "What? Earthquake insurance? When do we get?" It's not, you know, it's not the West Coast, but for $6,000 on I think we have an $8 million budget. Yeah, I think it's well worth it, as well as the increased liability and flooding insurance. Like you said, that I think we talked about a water treatment plant costing $30 million. So, you know, it's well worth it to prevent that from happening. So I'm all in favor of that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gory. Any other comments from members of council? Councilor McConnell, please.
Question, if I may, Mayor Todd, through you. Matthew, are our buildings insured for replacement cost?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
See, he says yes a lot quicker than he says no. That's actually good. The only thing I'm surprised about just myself on this is that the flooding is actually that much cheaper than the earthquake. I guess there's not a lot of look into. I mean, the value of the water treatment plant, the fact we are seeing those, the rising flood waters in different years now, we're having these historical high water marks, although we certainly didn't have it this year. It's for $3,000. That's some good peace of mind there, because we did have we were at the verge anyways of rolling out the sandbags in 2017, and we're really fortunate we didn't get some water into the plant, into that one intake pipe above ground there. So good stuff from my perspective as well. Any final comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And that's through the staff reports this evening. We're on to item 13, resolutions. None tonight. Nothing under 14, bylaws as well. 15, new business. Does any member of council have any new business to bring forward this evening? Seeing no. 16, notices of motion. Does any member of council have a notice of motion to present tonight? Seeing also no. 17, there's no mayor's proclamations this evening. Does take us to 18, the closed session. Take a very brief break before we come back into the closed session, just to let everybody, we've been an hour and a half, so we should take just a couple moments. So we'll come back at, we'll say 7:40. So recommendations that we move into closed session at 7:40 to discuss matters pertaining to 18.1, approval of the closed session minutes, 18.2, purchase and sale. That's under section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or a local board, and that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, interim director of operations, deputy clerk, and manager of building and bylaw services remain in the room. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor McConnell. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. We'll take a very brief recess and come back in about 8 minutes. So say 7:40. Thanks.